Good morning, world. I hope you can hear me, YouTube land people. I'm going to try to share this as well onto my Facebook if I can figure out how to do that. I just wanted to talk about the transits of what happened this weekend with Astro World and the concert venue. I know that there's been charges laid against some artists already. This isn't the first time this happened. I know that I probably sound like an old person at this point, but I remember in 2000, was it 2000? I know Woodstock was insane. 99 Woodstock was insane. There was also, I was part of a community of ravers who had illegal venues, illegal parties with thousands of people. And I've been in crowds that were magnitude huge. I felt that feeling before where you're, the heat is above you. Like I'm 5'2", so any short person would understand that. The air, the oxygen is only at a certain level, and you could actually hear it a lot of the time with people's recordings from inside the crowd. So that's the other thing that I want to talk about was I actually looked up the transits of a couple different concerts where people had lost their lives after like trolling and being all over the internet and getting so many notifications of different conversations that were happening about this. And yes, it's not the first time. It's not the first time for this particular artist, but it's not for the first time in general ever. In 1979, The Who had what was called literally a concert massacre where a bunch of people died. In 2000, it happened with Pearl Jam. They lost 8 lives. Again, 50,000 people. Huge amounts of human people all being in the same space. That's going to always cause a different mentality. I mean, it's been studied. It's known that you get a certain amount of humans in a certain space, especially when you add alcohol to the system or add drugs. But the adrenaline alone, it's scientifically proven that's one of the strongest chemicals that can happen to a human brain is the adrenaline. And being in crowds where you're so physically far away from anything but another body that you have to maneuver yourself to get through. You have to squish between people and find holes and go low and go above and ask to be crowd surfing and stuff like that. I've seen it. I've been there. And it is a overwhelming feeling of powerlessness when you get in a crowd that big. And no, it's not the first time this has happened, and I doubt it'll be the last, but it's the first time that this has happened with people having cell phones recording this and getting it blown up. I mean, we are in a nodal change right now. We're in a place where society is changing the rules. The eclipses are among us. They're right in front of us, actually. We're about to see the shift of the themes. The last time this shift happened, when we entered this shift 2.5 years ago, we really started to prepare for the fact that there was a divide, a real divide, us versus them, and what people think it really separates them, not particularly who they are, but what they say and what they do. That shift is about to change again into more of a possessive tone because we're moving into Taurus and Scorpio tropically. Tropically, the astrology is awe-inspiring. Sidereally, it's just as jaw-dropping. So I looked at the charts we'll get into that in a second. I looked at the charts of the 3 different concerts, 79, 2000, and 2021. And the couple things that I picked up off right away is Lilith. Black Moon Lilith was in high aspects, like really, really strong aspect to rule most of the chart for all 3. The moons, 2 of the moons were in Gemini, the other one was in Sagittarius. So that's actually an axis, that's not position. But it means an alignment. It means that even though the world may have been on one side, it was just on the other side of the exact point. So it was getting the same energy. That's what an axis of opposites are in zodiac system. The other thing that I found was really interesting, especially when you apply this to the fact that it was Travis Scott because of his chart and the way that his chart is built, and Drake as well with his Cancerness. These are Cancer and Aries men. These are cardinal men. These are men that, for the Aries energy, it is the, he loves chaos. It's been, noted many, many times that this is an artist who really digs the energy that he takes in from his audiences, and that it's very familiar for people who listen to his music to have that kind of energy uptake. It's not a slow, easy, calming music. It's the kind to infuse energy, right? Pearl Jam has gone both ways, and so has The Who, but both have been known to do a lot of aggressive singing and drumming and long-winded in-betweens. What's the word I'm thinking of? When a band just jams on, they just kind of like lose it in the music and keep going and going and get kind of into this cerebral state. The Who was really known for that. I mean, their drummer was literally one of the most intense men in rock and roll. And Pearl Jam, notably by the year 2000, was like what was left of the kings of grunge, right? So you have all of the Gen Xers in this state of, finally, being an adult and having that grown up, that teenage angst that came with listening to Pearl Jam as a youth. When you move into the fact that it was in the year 2000, this is 6 years after they were infamously famous, right? With their MTV and their relation to Nirvana. And so by then, this band had really had a full swing of being on top of the world and owned that king rock and roll status. Especially in the year 2000, there wasn't very many authentically rock and roll bands. So to have that outlet turn into that aggression and the mob mentality take over and the loss of lives happen, unfortunately, it's not the first time. The charts are very similar. I do have them posted on my Twitter and my Facebook. But yeah, Venus in Capricorn for this one and Venus in Aries for the other two. And then, like I said, there was a big access on the mutable moons with the air, fire, moon, Sagittarius, Gemini access, and Lilith being extremely prominent in relation to the sun. It's been like that. That's what the charts have been like, because mom mentality is something that you can very much be like, well, what was the stars like that day? What was the astrology like that day? Because you can darn well bet that when there is a huge 50,000 people crowd that loses control, because there are 50,000 people in crowds all the time. China is an over congested, and so is Japan, area, and they have mass amounts of people moving around all the time without anybody getting trampled. Okay, add the rock music, add the intensity of the artists themselves being a cardinal energy, flipping all of that off and kind of like igniting it all. I mean, I know it sounds crazy, but Pete Townsend would be proud. Like, it's still chaos, rock and roll. That's what it's not meant to hurt anybody, but that's why they say rock and roll is dangerous. That's why they say mosh pits are dangerous. That's why it's never been unknown. It's just, this is the first time we're hearing the cries through the crowd, through a cell phone recording and multiple cell phone recordings, so many that it couldn't be stifled by bigger media. It's just the era we live in. Just the fact that I can have this conversation right now on YouTube, and yeah, nobody's doing it now, but in 20 years, somebody could find it. This is the kind of world we live in. Things are accountable now and are, at least as long as the internet is up and running, we are in a place where we can't avoid looking at what's really there anymore. We can say that's the way it's always been, because it has, and it always will be. As long as there's nobody paying attention. Anyways, that's my 2 cents. Thanks. Bye.